Welcome back to Kit with Food in the Kitchen. Today I am going to bring you guys along with making Kit and Sunday their own DIY raw meal. This here is my super duper awesome little brother T, and he's here to help me today because honestly this is so hard for me. Now if you didn't see our inventory video, that's what I always start with, is taking inventory of what I have in my freezer before I even think about doing this, so I know what I have to see what I need to buy online. Now at this point I've already picked out all of the meats that were in my freezer that needed to be thawed, and they're all thawed out now, so I'm ready to start prepping. Now before you even bring the meats out of the fridge, I wanted to really get better at making whole food fruits and vegetable toppers for my dog and kind of for my cat as well. So taking the time to prep all the veggies, bake them, cook them, cut them up really helps speed up the process a lot, and I think just adding them ahead of time makes it a little easier. Now I did go in and I wrote down in each category: muscular tissue, muscular organs, bone, secreting organs, liver, seafood, and then fruits and veggies, what I had in each of those categories that was all thought out and ready to be prepped on what we could actually use in the meals. And I do this because the calculator that I use from Paws of Prey, it's called the raw meal like starter kit, something like that, but it's really fantastic, and honestly I think that even experienced raw feeders could use it. I have used several different kinds of calculators, but this one is by far the best. Essentially what you do is you log into the site, and she has so many videos there, so helpful, so clear, so concise, and it saves all your data. So you pick your dog, you can edit the weight if you want to, and if you've never done this before, it has a transition section which she goes all through in her like videos and stuff. But essentially for each category that you need for the raw meals to be balanced, you just go through and pick the meats that you want. And this is important, okay, because you have to realize, if you have never done this before, not all meats are made equal. So beef liver is not going to have the same kind of nutrients and values as like rabbit liver. They have like different copper values in them. So what I really like about this calculator is that it will auto recognize those things for you, and it'll give you a warning. It'll say, hey, like later on the week you should probably feed something like this. And it's even great when you're making, like, if you're doing like cat meals as well, it'll tell you, hey, like this is really low in like vitamin B, you need to add in some yeast and stuff like that. And I feel like the biggest thing about DIY raw is that it's always likely to be missing some nutrients, and I think this calculator does such a good job at recognizing those things for you and letting you know. I also just absolutely love that it's totally customizable. You can save the recipes. It's amazing, okay? And this is not paid. I'm just telling you from my experience. It's the best calculator I have ever used. And also I am like a total freaking Paws of Prey fan. I absolutely love her YouTube channel. She's taught me so much. Okay, so after you've made your recipes, here are some items that you're gonna need. You're absolutely gonna need a food scale to weigh everything out to know that you're putting the correct amounts in. Girl, I have kind of long nails, so I always use gloves, and I think gloves are just important in general, but I have two different sizes because my brother has like literally giant hands. I do have some Pyrex bowls today, but I have used BPA free plastic bowls, but I would love to start doing more glass stuff instead. And then I like to write down the recipe multiple times on little index cards so I can tape them to the top of the bowl lids. Way one, I know what's in it, so I know if, you know, I'm feeding too much turkey or too much beef or too much pork. But two, also when I'm filming videos, it just helps me remember what's in there, you know? All right, so now we're almost ready to start prepping. T and I put all our fruits and veggies that are all cooked and everything right onto my island, and what you'll see is I actually put towels down on all of my counters just because I am insane about germs and like contamination and like safety and stuff. And yes, if it does leak through into the counter, obviously I literally disinfect like 1,000 times, but like just in case, I think this just gives me like peace of mind. I wish I had like a foldable table that I could do this on in like a different space, but I live in a tiny one bedroom, so not yet. Okay, so now that all of our fruits and veggies are prepped, our counters are prepped, now it's time to start cutting up your meats. I get a lot of raw meats from Raw Feeding Miami, and if you're ordering the organs and stuff, which you're gonna need, unless you get them ground, they come whole, so you have to cut them yourself. A lot of times the muscle meats that I get are ground, so I'll put them in like bowls like that if they're not in little plastic little bin things. But it's really crucial that you cut up your meats into smaller little bits, because sometimes you don't really need a lot of it and you need to like weigh it all out. So it just saves you a lot of time when you're starting to prep. I will tell you though, I have been raw feeding for like over a year and a half now, and I still hate doing this. Like sometimes some raw meats just really get to me. Like my stomach starts to gurgle and I'm like, ugh. But let's go through here how we prep. So we put the container down. You need to zero out your skin. Obviously, we're gonna first start adding in our muscular meat. You can get these from Raw Feeding Miami. Sometimes I also get them from Whole Foods. We are adding in ground bones this time because that's easier for Sunday to eat, and my grinder sucks. Now we're adding in our muscular organs, and then we're gonna add in our liver and then our secreting organ, which you'll see at the end all of the ones that I added in. But to go through it real quick for you: ground turkey and ground lamb from Whole Foods, ground chicken bones from Raw Feeding Miami, beef green tripe from Almost Pride, pork heart, rabbit liver, pork brain, and beef spleen, all from Raw Feeding Miami, a whole sardine from Almost Pride. Then I just add in like various types of fruits and vegetables, just a little bit amount, so it's not like a lot, you know. You will have to add in an iodine supplement and a vitamin E supplement, which Paws of Prey, she gives you recommendations, and it even tells you how much you should add depending on what kind you have, because again, those are not all made equal. So whenever you pop out the meal and you've thought it out and you're ready to serve it, you just add those in. And now me and my brother are just rinsing and repeating that recipe, and then we'll switch over to Sunday's food. Now, if you don't know, I have an Australian Shepherd mix. He's about 50-ish pounds, 47 pounds to be exact, I think. And then I have an almost adult kitten. He's 11 months old, but he is about 12, 13-ish pounds. And they get the same ingredients. It's the same exact recipe basically, except with different like weight values, because obviously Sunday is 5 times smaller than Kit is. And then they get the same iodine supplement, they get the same vitamin E supplement, but typically I have to add in nutritional yeast for vitamin B for Sunday, I believe. And I get a lot of people that will be like, oh my gosh, you can't give cats and dogs the same recipes. This video is not long enough to go into that, but maybe just do a little bit of research if you do believe that. And you can see Sunday's meal here. It's the exact same thing except smaller. Now for Kit, he can eat that whole bowl that we just made in 2 servings. He can eat the entire thing. For Sunday, he's got to eat it over like 4 or 5 meals during the day because he is itty bitty and that is like kind of a lot of food. As I said before, now we'll just put the lids on and I tape on the recipe on there so that I know what's in there. And here are the recipe cards. These are exactly what is popped out of the Paws of Prey calculator. I just write it down. We did have to do this over 2 days. So you just saw our raw feeding prep from last night. This is now today. In total, I feel like this took us about, I don't know, like 4 or 5 hours, I think. A lot of people will also ask me like, how much does this cost? Is it cheaper than commercial feeding? I mean, that is so just hard to answer. Every pet is so different that you're going to be buying different amounts for things, and it's so hard to quantify this kind of raw feeding cost because you're buying basically all the meats and stuff in bulk. Like a lot of times the only things that we ever run out of is like muscular tissue or the ground meat because you're going to need the most of that. But a lot of times like we're not running out of the liver or the secreting organs. Like a lot of times like I'm having to refreeze it afterwards because we have too much of it. So it's really hard to quantify like how much each meal costs, how much did you spend overall. Honestly, I don't really think that DIY raw feeding cost a lot unless you're buying like really like exotic meats. Like a few months ago I did buy like ground kangaroo meat, and yeah, that is expensive. Or like ground rabbit meat, also expensive. And if you have a dog who is allergic to like more generic meats, or they're very sensitive to generic more kind of common meats like beef or chicken and things like that, I mean, yeah, it does get a little bit expensive. But if you're already buying the commercial meats for like that are exotic, then it's probably expensive there too, you know. And also I'll see a lot of people that say, oh well, you could just buy it from the grocery store. And it's not that I don't trust buying meats from the grocery store, because I've bought chicken hearts and duck necks fucking feet and whatever from my Asian grocery store. I literally love H Mart. I go there all the time. Sometimes I look at it and I'm like, is that the best quality of meat for my pet? So sometimes I'm a little bit bougie and I spend a little bit more on the meats that I'm feeding them, because I'm like, if I'm gonna do this, I want to do it right and to the fullest extent, you know? So basically what I'm saying is, after that really long rambling rant, is that I don't really know how much it costs. Like, I can't really tell you that. And if I did tell you that, it would just be specific for my situation and my pets. Like, your number that you spend will be so much different if you had a 120-pound Great Dane or if you had a little like 7-pound Yorkie. Like, it won't make sense for me to tell you that. And I won't lie to you, this process here, it's a lot of work. I really do think it takes a lot of commitment. It takes a lot of thought, a lot of brain power. And girl, I was mentally and physically kind of exhausted after doing this. If you are looking to get into raw feeding and you're watching this video and you're like kind of scared by this is not the only way, okay? I have done commercial raw, which I absolutely love. Right now, I'm in love with Oma's Pride. Their bulk boxes are amazing. But you can also get something called a premix, and I love the Hund Wild Blend, which is good for cats and dogs. It uses sensitive, hypoallergenic ingredients to balance ground meat, and you can just add that to your preferred ground meat, and then voila, you have yourself some balanced meals. So what I'm trying to say is, I do love doing this. I don't do it often, but I do think it's a good idea to kind of rotate their proteins, get it, you know, a little bit more diversified. Now, Kit will eat anything, but some dogs may be a little sensitive to eating each of these individually, so I would kind of do more research on this and watch some Paws of Prey video. Anyway, if you watched this whole freaking thing, like, literally thank you for listening to me ramble for like 12 freaking minutes. Literally the biggest shout out to my boy, Mr. T Shmoney, for helping me out. Thank you so much.